We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will host a Mauritian counterpart, Naveen Chandra Ramagulam, in Varanasi today. Both leaders to review full spectrum of bilateral cooperation. Poland warns of open conflict risk after alleged Russian drone intrusion. Zelensky calls out West's lack of action. UN chief warns of real risk. Russia denies violation. Manhunt continues after Trump ally Charlie Kirk shot dead at campus event in Utah. Trump orders flags at half-staff across US for Patriot Kirk. And in cricket, India seals a commanding 9-wicket win over UAE to kickstart the Asia Cup 2025 campaign. Also in a first, Indian Armed Forces all-women sailing team to circumnavigate the globe with Defence Minister to virtually flag-off expedition, during which officers will sail over 26,000 nautical miles. And on to the details now. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramagulam, who is currently on an 8-day visit to India, was accorded a warm welcome on his arrival in Varanasi city of northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh on Wednesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be arriving to hold a bilateral meeting with him in the city today, and the two leaders will further strengthen civilizational connect, spiritual bond and deep-rooted people-to-people ties that have shaped the special and unique relationship between India and Mauritius. Also, during the bilateral discussions, the two leaders will review the full spectrum of cooperation with particular focus on development, partnership and capacity building. They will also discuss opportunities for expanding collaboration in health, education, science and technology, energy, infrastructure, as well as in emerging domains such as renewable energy, digital public infrastructure and the blue economy. Well, as a valued partner and close maritime neighbour in the Indian Ocean region, Mauritius is also key to India's Mahasagar mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across region, vision and the neighbourhood first policy. Well, also, this marks a significant stop in Prime Minister Ramagulam's itinerary, as Varanasi holds special importance as the parliamentary constituency of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The visit builds upon the positive momentum generated by Prime Minister Modi's state visit to Mauritius in March 2025, during which the two leaders elevated the bilateral relationship to an enhanced strategic partnership. Well, from Varanasi, Prime Minister will travel to Dehradun and to undertake an aerial survey of the flood-affected areas in Uttarakhand. Later in the evening, Prime Minister will chair a high-level review meeting also with officials. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Himachal Pradesh and Punjab, states ravaged by recent floods following unprecedented rain, and announced relief packages. Prime Minister announced financial assistance of 1,500 crore rupees for Himachal Pradesh and an aid of 1,600 crore rupees for Punjab. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke to his Italian counterpart, Giorgia Meloni. Both the leaders reaffirmed a joint commitment to deepen India-Italy strategic partnership and ending the Ukraine conflict. The leaders reviewed and positively assessed the developments in bilateral strategic partnership across sectors such as investment, defense, security, space, science and technology, education, people-to-people ties and counter-terrorism. Both the leaders reaffirmed their commitment towards further deepening of the partnership in line with the Joint Strategic Action Plan 2025 to 29. They also exchanged views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. They agreed on the need for an early and peaceful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's full support for efforts in this direction. Well, Prime Minister Meloni reiterated Italy's strong support for conclusion of a mutually beneficial India-EU free trade agreement at the earliest and for the success of the AI Impact Summit to be hosted by India in 2026. The leaders also agreed on taking steps to promote connectivity under India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor Initiative. The leaders agreed to remain in touch. Well, following 2 days of violent protests, Nepal remained somewhat calm on Wednesday. A few Gen Z representatives proposed a name of former Chief Justice Sushila Kirk to lead interim government. However, in the late evening, many people expressed their dissatisfaction with the proposed name. Amid sign of stability and calmness, the main airport in Kathmandu also reopened on Wednesday.
Nepal was rocked by a wave of violent protests led by its young population. Nepal Parliament, Hilton Hotel, Nepal's main administrative centre Singha Darbar, among others in Kathmandu, were set ablaze. According to Nepal's health ministry, the death toll from the protests had risen to 25 by Wednesday, while 633 people were also injured. Nepali soldiers patrolled the streets of Kathmandu as they seek to restore order. Army said prohibitory orders would remain in force until Thursday morning, adding that relevant parties were coordinating to tackle the situation after the protests. The Nepali army requested protesters to return weapons and ammunition looted during the protests to security personnel. Nepal police said on Wednesday that more than 13,500 prisoners broke out of jails across the country during anti-government protests this week. The upheaval in the Himalayan nation was unleashed by a social media ban that was announced last week, but was rolled back after the violent protests.
It's an outcome of the present government, which is soaked in corruption. The incompetent leaders banned social media to hide their corruption, which was exposed through social media. It is an outcome of citizens' anger, because of which the regime has toppled, and it is an outcome of the incompetent leaders' bad deeds.
Nonetheless, the country began returning to normalcy on Wednesday. Youths turned up to clear rubble, broken furniture, and shattered glass in Kathmandu. Youths cleaned up offices, swept floors and pavements, packed debris into trash bags, and loaded garbage trucks. The reopening of the main airport in Kathmandu was another indication of the country returning to normalcy. However, many passengers remained stranded at the Kathmandu airport. The Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association, who was consulted by the protesters, said that Nepal's Gen Z protesters want former Chief Justice Sushila Kirk as the interim Prime Minister. With Fuzail Ahmed, Tanvita Nija for DD India.
And to facilitate passengers who have been stranded due to recent developments in Nepal, Air India began operating special flights for 2 days from Wednesday from Delhi to Kathmandu and back. Air India's scheduled operations will also resume from today. The airline thanked the government and other agencies for the quick coordination to facilitate this in the interest of our passengers. Passengers are requested to check the status of their flights online before proceeding to the airport. For further assistance, passengers can contact Air India's 24/7 call centre at 011 6932 9333 and 011 6932 9999. And the Ministry of Culture's Gyan Bharatam is the landmark national initiative dedicated to preserving, digitizing and disseminating India's manuscript heritage. Marking the formal launch of the Gyan Bharatam mission, the ministry is organizing the first ever Gyan Bharatam International Conference on reclaiming India's knowledge legacy through manuscript heritage from today at Vigyan Bhavan, New Delhi. Well, Gyan Bharatam is a part of a visionary national movement dedicated to safeguarding and disseminating India's vast manuscript wealth. It will serve both as a tribute to the nation's civilizational roots and as a forward-looking step towards the Prime Minister's vision of a Viksit Bharat by 2047, where India emerges as a true Vishwaguru. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the three-day conference on Friday, listen to the presentations of the working groups and address the gathering thereafter. And 26 years after the Kargil war that India fought against Pakistan in the Himalayas, a book highlighting the role of artillery in India's decisive victory has come up. The book, Artillery's Thunder, The Untold Kargil Story, written by retired Major General Lakhwinder Singh, was released in Delhi today. In an exclusive conversation with DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo, General Lakhwinder speaks about the artillery became a game changer for India in the Kargil war.
He is also called the Raging Bull of Dras. Yes, we are talking about the Kargil hero, and he has written a book, The Untold Kargil Story, and it talks about the artillery's thunder. I have with me Major General Lakhwinder Singh. Let's talk to him and find out. So why this, the untold story?
There's a lot of books have written about Kargil, but certain aspects not covered in them. So I decided to be as open, as candid as possible to bring home some home truth, which I felt were right. That's the untold story.
What was that one incident that played a pivotal role while you were writing this book?
Actually, my wife nagged me and nagged me. That's very important because I was very hesitant to write a book, but I had a lot of things in my mind which I needed to put across. So I think I did a good thing. I took a pen and started writing it, and I hope it's an interesting book.
How does it feel 26 years after that Kargil war?
Actually, not right. I think the combined infantry and artillery both, they meshed together to form such a heavy force against the Pakistanis. There's no answer to it. So I think both of the infantry and artillery did a tremendous job. Artillery, of course, was very destructive, and every time you find on the hills, the Pakistan were heard shouting, "Hame bachao, yahan par कहर बरस रहा hai. Save us! Hell is falling on us." So I think they were quite scared of us, and they never wanted to be there in their position after that.
Sir, you spoke about Pakistanis shouting "Hame bachao." Where was this? If we look onto the map of Kargil,
the first time it came on trolling. We were doing dark firing, experiment. And we heard from Barbad bunker, people say, "Hame bachao, yahan par कहर बरस रहा hai." And after every hill we went to, we heard the same intercepts, same shouts.
So there you heard General Lakhwinder saying, lot has changed, but what has not changed is the will of the soldier, like General Lakhwinder Singh, that has always made India proud. With cameraman Vinod Oja in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
And in a historic first, 10 women officers from the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force will embark on a tri-service circum navigation mission on board Indian Army sailing vessel Triveni from today. Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will virtually flag off the expedition, which will cover 26,000 plus nautical miles. The team of women officers will be crossing the equator twice and rounding the three Great Capes, braving the world's toughest oceans, including the Southern Ocean and Drake Passage, This all-women expedition is not just about sailing. It is a milestone in India's maritime journey, showcasing Nari, Shakti, or women power in uniform, tri-service unity and the spirit of adventure. ISV Triveni, a 50-foot yacht built indigenously in Puducherry, is an embodiment of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Equipped with modern navigation and communication systems, it has already logged 10,000 nautical miles in training and is now set to take on the global challenge. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Qatar condemns Netanyahu's reckless remarks on hosting Hamas office. Ghana agrees to US deportation deal, accepts West African nationals amid rising regional tensions. A newly appointed French Prime Minister meets with the ministers, vows profound break with past.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, Poland warned that Russia and Europe are inching towards an open conflict after Warsaw shot down what it said were Russian drones in Polish airspace. Meanwhile, Russia denied targeting Poland, while US President Donald Trump called out the Kremlin for violating the NATO allies' territory as Moscow unleashed its latest attack on Ukraine. Well, Poland Prime Minister Donald Tusk said at least 3 drones were shot down after Warsaw and its allies scrambled jets. Tusk also warned the situation 3.5 years into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has killed tens of thousands of people, risked boiling over, and called urgent talks with NATO. The Ukraine President Zelensky and the European Union called the drone move a test of the alliance's resolve. Ukrainian President Zelensky said the airspace violation was a dangerous precedent and urged a strong response from Kyiv's allies. He slammed Western and global leaders for lack of action over the intrusion. Well, the European capitals rushed out condemnation, slamming Russian President Vladimir Putin over the incident. Well, Qatar hit back at Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a strongly worded statement early on Thursday, describing his remarks about the Gulf countries' hosting of a Hamas office as reckless. The heated exchange came a day after Israel attempted to kill Hamas political leaders in an airstrike on Qatar on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Netanyahu warned Qatar to either expel Hamas officials or bring them to justice, because if you don't, we will. He also accused Qatar of providing safe haven and financing to Hamas. In a statement, Qatar's foreign ministry condemned what it described as Netanyahu's explicit threats of future violations of state sovereignty. It added that the negotiations were always held in an official and transparent manner, with international support and in the presence of US and Israeli delegations. Well, Netanyahu's insinuation that Qatar secretly harbored the Hamas delegation is a desperate attempt to justify a crime condemned by the entire world. Qatar, along with Egypt, has been mediating peace talks between Hamas and Israel. It warned that Israel's attack on Doha threatened to derail those negotiations. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with Amir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, and expressed deep concern at the attacks in Doha and condemned the violation of the sovereignty of the state of Qatar. In a social media post, Prime Minister said, and I quote, "India condemns the violation of the sovereignty of the brotherly state of Qatar. We support resolution of issues through dialogue and diplomacy and avoiding escalation. India stands firmly in support of peace and stability in the region and against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations." Unquote. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has reportedly told Israeli Prime Minister that his decision to target Hamas inside Qatar wasn't wise. Sources say Trump made the comments during a heated phone call on Tuesday after the attack. According to media reports, Netanyahu responded that he had a brief window to launch the strikes and took the opportunity. It further added that a second call between the men later on Tuesday was cordial, with Trump asking Netanyahu if the attack had proven successful. Well, US right-wing activist and commentator Charlie Kirk, an influential ally of President Donald Trump, was fatally shot in the neck on Wednesday at an event at Utah University. Authorities had not yet publicly identified the suspect by Wednesday evening, nearly 6 hours after the shooting. FBI Director Kash Patel said an unnamed subject had been detained for questioning and then released. Authorities said the suspect likely fired from a rooftop at a significant distance, adding that there were about 3,000 people gathered at the event. Well, Kirk was one of the most prominent pro-Trump activists and conservative media personalities in the United States. He has garnered millions of fans and co-founded Turning Point USA, an organization that advocates for conservative politics on high school and university campuses in 2012. The killing was the latest in a series of attacks on U.S. political figures, including 2 assassination attempts of Trump last year. Well, US President Donald Trump has ordered US flags to be flown at half-mast to honor Charlie Kirk in what the governor described as a political assassination. The US House of Representatives held a moment of silence on the House floor for Charlie Kirk. The silence did not last long, though, as an argument broke out on the floor soon after the moment ended, with members shouting at one another. House Speaker Mike Johnson called Kirk's shooting detestable, condemned political violence. And Ghana has agreed to accept West African nationals deported from the United States, deporting people to third countries, in many cases, places they have never lived, has been a hallmark of US President Donald Trump's crackdown on undocumented immigrants, notably by sending hundreds to a notorious prison in El Salvador. Ghanaian President John Mahama said a first batch of 14 people had come to Ghana, including several Nigerians. Ghana has long been home to Nigerian immigrants, though recent weeks have seen sporadic anti-Nigerian protests in several cities. Well, the deportation agreement comes as Washington has hiked tariffs on Ghanaian goods and restricted visas issued to its nationals. Ghanaian President Mahama described relations between Accra and Washington as tightening, though he said relations remained positive. Neighboring in Nigeria, for its part, has pushed back against accepting third-party deputies. In an unprecedented move, Trump has overseen the deportation of hundreds of people to Panama. Hundreds have also been sent to El Salvador. Some were sent despite U.S. judges ordering the planes carrying them to turn around. The White House has also deported third-country nationals to South Sudan, a war-torn, impoverished country. And newly appointed French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu met with his ministers on Wednesday to go over the Let's Block Everything protest which took place across France. The meeting held at the Interior Ministry was followed by a statement by Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau. Lecornu promised a profound break with the past as he faced trying to build a government with enough parliamentary support to pull the country out of a political crisis. Lecornu said he would address the nation in the coming days, insisting his approach would be different from the past. Well, Econo's first day on the job coincided with street protests across France in a show of grassroots opposition to President Emmanuel Macron, which resulted in clashes with the police, with one protester hospitalized after being tear gassed. Protesters across France disrupted traffic and clashed with police in a bid to block everything. Nearly 300 protesters were arrested across the country. 80,000 security forces had been deployed throughout the country, including 6,000 in Paris. And in sports, in Asia Cup, India thrashed the host UAE by 9 wickets in their opening match of the tournament in Dubai. India's bowling lineup breathed fire as they bundled UAE out for the lowest ever Asia Cup T20 total of just 57. Kuldeep Yadav was the star performer with the ball, picking up 4 wickets, including 3 in a single over. All-rounder Shivam Dube also scalped 3 wickets. With the bat, India chased down the target in just 4.3, courtesy of quick-fire knocks by openers Abhishek Sharma and Shubman Gill. Suryakumar Yadav's men will now shift their focus towards the marquee clash against Pakistan on Sunday. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.